be curious. Don't let something that's going to be bringing you a lot of joy just go by the wayside. Like if you're going to take that road trip, stop and get out and see what it's all about.
Welcome to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast, a weekly podcast providing career and creative inspiration to help you build a purpose-filled life. If you're interested in tapping into your creative potential, pursuing a career with passion, and building on your biggest and best resource, yourself, please join me on this path. I'm your host, Nancy Moore, and I want you to know that I'm on this journey with you. So let's get started. Annette LaFortune Murray is a retired educator and school librarian. She stays busy as a part-time concierge for Montereau, and that's where I met her. But she continues her passion for education through a picture book that she has written and published. We'll get into the publishing part of it in our interview, but it's kind of interesting what she did. But her book is called ABC, What Do You See? Traveling Along Route 66. Her book features the iconic Route 66 in ABC order, highlighting historic landmarks, fascinating wildlife, maps, quirky attractions, delicious food, and famous architecture. And it's all portrayed on every page. A fun fact about Annette, she lives on Route 66 in Tulsa, and she talks about her fascination with Route 66 in our visit. And she also talks a little bit more about her publishing process because she decided to forego the traditional publishing route and talks about her reason behind that. And I thought it was fascinating to find out what she shared. So I hope that you enjoy this visit with Annette. Okay, Annette, how are you doing?
Hi, Nancy. I'm great. How are you today?
Good. I am so excited to be visiting with you today about your book, actually about your life and then about your book. Mm-hmm. It's a Route 66 book called ABC, What Do You See? Rolling Along Route 66. It's a children's book, and I know we'll get into that a little bit, but I would love for you to talk about yourself just a little bit so people can get an idea of who you are.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me be here today and chat with me. I just love our friendship, and I love that we share so many things in common. Well, I am a native Tulsan. I was born here, lived here almost all my life except college. I come from a large family. I have 5 siblings. I am married to Kevin. He's a great guy. He's a CFO. And we have 2 sons who are adults. I'm basically a lifelong traveler and a lifelong learner. So all my journeys lead me to something. Whether they're small, they could be a walk here in the community, or they could be a road trip that goes across the country. I am a very active Christian in my church. I'm a disciple of Christ, and I have really immersed my faith life by surrounding myself with positive, uplifting people at my church. I have a great group of women that we study every week together, and we grow and we learn from each other. So that is it in a nutshell.
Okay, that's so neat. We have so many different things in common, but I am a lifelong learner as well. I found that out about myself through interest inventory that I took through Montereau, in fact, because you and I both work at Montereau.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, and we do have a lot of commonalities, and I do love to travel. But I thought just to kind of get to know you a little bit better, because you actually said some things I didn't know, but I like to ask people about what their superpower is. And so I'm interested in finding out what yours is.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like I am a big picture person. When I learn about some new things or big challenges, whatever, I think I have a power of really seeing the big picture of what's presented versus keying in on something that could be overwhelming or frightening or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I like to step back. I've learned to push that pause button many times in life. don't be impulsive, because impulsive decisions can often be the wrong ones. But, they can be good too. But I think I'm that big picture thinker, and I'm a multitasker. And I know I learned that from my mom. She raised 6 kids. And I watched her year after year, hour after hour, manage our household, our lives as children at school, our lives as adults. So that is one of my superpowers.
Okay. Yeah, that's so neat. It's always interesting to find out what people say or what people think, because for me, we're both connectors, and I feel like I would probably say that's one of my superpowers. So I was curious about what you'd say about your superpower. So, okay, let's get into your children's book a little bit. So why did you decide to write a children's book? And then we'll talk about what you wrote it about, which is iconic Route 66.
Right. Well, I do have 30 years of working in the classroom as a teacher or a librarian. So I've read thousands of books over the past 3 decades. And I'm passionate about children's literacy for all ages. But I do think there's magic in reading. And that's why I kept a file of books or ideas that could be stories for me to explore.
So keeping a file, so as you were working, maybe you didn't have, and raising kids, maybe you didn't have time to write a book at the time, but you had these ideas. So is that when you were keeping the file of ideas?
Yes, I had a notebook at my desk at school when I was a teacher, but I also began using a laptop to just document things that would be fun. Funny things that kids would say to me, or people that I had met who I thought were just incredible people. So I just had like a natural go-to file. And also I've learned how to use my creative thought process to document things, like keeping a daily list, every day list 5 things that were interesting to me. And then go back and say, oh, okay, that person was fun, or that was really a sad thing that happened to that little boy, or, just life.
So you journal, because I journal also, but so you journal at the end of the day and kind of, or would you call it journaling? And with
no,
your
they
5?
Actually were note cards.
Oh, okay.
Early on in my career, they were note cards.
Okay.
And I just put a rubber band around them and just kept adding to it. And then on my laptop, I would have a file that just said, people stories, nonfiction stories, whatever, things like that.
Okay.
So I was kind of setting the stage, I guess, to what was coming later, which I never knew would become my career in my 60s.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you're sharing that. And you've mentioned your age. Yeah. Because at any stage and any age of life, you can embark on something that's a whole new project, a whole new career. And so you decided to write a book in your 60s. And so what has that been like for you?
Well, it was, the desire was there, but the moment or the opportunity of time was not. But when COVID came and I was homebound 3 years, I pulled out some of those cards and thoughts and ideas, and I would start to write short stories. And then I thought, I really want to take this somewhere. So I found online courses through the Writing Barn, and I took 4 very intensive classes. I would equate it to getting a master's in how to write children's books.
Wow. So you educated yourself in that.
Yes.
Even though you were a teacher and a librarian, you felt like you needed to get that additional.
Yes.
Did that build your confidence then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There was a lot of anticipation and reservation because I'd never done it before, and here I was in a Zoom class with 8 people sharing it was a critique hour, and we're all reading aloud, or I'm turning my document over to 4 people I've never met and thinking, what in the heck are they going to say? Mm-hmm. But you just learn to trust, and then you get validation that you do have some talent or how your skill can grow. It's all about building the craft. Mm-hmm. And that's what I learned, and then I would enhance it with outside reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that you did that you kind of utilized your time during quarantine So I did as well and kicked off this podcast. I
Yeah,
finally
that's what
had
I
the time
remember.
to get this going. And so that was, a terrible time, certainly, in our history, but that was something that I kind of, utilized my time and had it be some downtime for me to get this going. So that's neat. Another thing we have in common, getting something going.
I know.
Yeah. During the same time frame. Okay. So this book you self-published, and I felt like it was important to talk about that because there are so many people that don't take the traditional publishing route and go the self-publishing route. And you kind of mentioned something before I started recording that I found interesting, but I thought if you could kind of share that self-publishing process, maybe why you decided to do it, and then the process.
Okay. Well, there's the self-publishing entity, and then there's the traditional entity of publishing. And in the middle, for about the past 10 to 12 years, there's been the hybrid publishing world. And it's kind of where the two join together. Self-publishing, you are on your own. You are making that path to put yourself out there and find your own editors, find your own team that's going to, or read that tutorial, how to put your book online. But you also can join in and have what I have found is many communications and writing people, they want to help others. They want to help these new authors come into the world, but they don't want them to wait forever. Traditional publishing can take 3 to 5 years for a book to be accepted, produced, and published. I really wasn't in the mindset to wait 5 years. So I studied the market and found Atmosphere Press out of Austin, Texas. And the process I went through was I submitted my book. A team on their staff looked at it and said, yes, this is a great idea. You want to join our team, and we'll provide your editors and design and marketing for a small fee. And I needed that because I didn't have some basic knowledge that was needed, but also I wanted to move along a little bit faster. So hybrid publishers do have a small fee up front. It can be anywhere from $800 to $10,000, depending on what you're working on. Picture books can be less money than a novel, obviously, because you have 32 pages versus 800 pages. Also, I needed work on how to integrate the color illustrations with my text. So all of a sudden, I joined in signing a contract to be part of Atmosphere's team with their help and getting ideas for my formatting, how to make the story better. And that was a year of going back and forth. I never had an in-person meeting. We all did everything online, digitally, and their team was very professional. Some of them are employees of traditional houses, but they feel strongly enough about helping those of us in the trenches that they step out of their world and give 2 hours to a wannabe like me. So that's the difference of self-publishing versus hybrid.
Okay. That's so neat. It's neat that there's there's an in-between.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned that earlier, I was not aware of that. But of course, people who are thinking about foregoing the traditional publishing route because for whatever reason, whether it was a number of rejections or, the time frame that it takes, it just seems like it's nice to have other options. And I didn't realize that other people that are part of the publishing, traditional publishing industry may be helping with these hybrid publications. So that's pretty cool.
Well, they come from all over. There are some, like I said, some are pioneers of traditional publishing. And now they're tired. They've been at it 30 years and they want to do something different.
Yeah.
It could be university people that teach, like you, that want to help these people learn how to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your book is so well done. I don't think that there is anything that is missing because you went that route. This hybrid route.
Yes.
And in fact, it might even be a little bit better because you were hands in the process. You were very hands-on and continue to be. And so anyway, yeah, that's really cool.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad that you shared that. Through this self-publication process, and you are working now to promote your book, and we'll talk about you traveling Route 66 and all of that. But have you learned something that you'd like to share from this whole process?
Yes, I'd like to just let authors know, or anyone who has a dream, you can accomplish those things if you're really going to be diligent. For example, authors do this often. I learned this in a course. Write a mission statement for your book and your brand, and then that helps you promote to the readers and the buyers. But here's a little quick trend list. Indie books can become bestsellers. Thousands are up on the list. There's no reason why my book can't compete with a Big Five book.
Right.
Authors can engage with the readers when you're doing a hybrid or self-publishing process. You can have beta readers and talk to them, versus the Big Three or Big Five. They're sending that out to be read by a team, but you don't know who they are and you don't hear the feedback. You can build a fan base right from home on your social media pages. You can avoid the rejection, like you mentioned. I happen to be in this. It's a funny thing. It's on Twitter. I'm in the 100 rejection letter group.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is. And I thought that sounds negative, but then as I joined it and I started following, I thought we're learning from each other. We all get these rejections, and now I'm not going to have my pity party because I got 2 rejections in a week. And then when you get to 100 rejections, you get to celebrate with your champagne online.
Okay. That's funny.
Also, the authors in a self-publishing world and a hybrid world, you have higher royalties and you own 100% of your rights.
That is a big thing. Recently,
Yes.
I have been talking to people about that, because retaining rights of your own work, that's so important, and people don't realize that when you are turning it over to a publishing house, you're kind of giving that away.
Right.
And so whatever the case may be, whatever it turns into, you retain those rights.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is good. That's a lot more than what I was thinking you were going to share. That's amazing. Okay. So I have been following along on social media with you and your journey when you were traveling Route 66,
Yes.
and also stopping places and promoting your book and doing book signing, but then also meeting different connections and, potential places that may like to carry your book. And so I thought if you'd like to kind of talk to us about that process of traveling Route 66, and then maybe some places you especially liked. Sure. And you can't say all of them, Annette.
Oh, I know. I won't.
There's too many.
Well, part of that hybrid publishing is you get to the point where the book is out, it's distributed, and they do handle the distribution, your hybrid company. But they're not going to continue the marketing. They do one big push as the book comes out, goes to press. But then it's you or the author all by themselves. So that's where I had to pick up phase 2 and start learning how to be a marketer. But the best thing for me, hit the road, get the camera out, take pictures, and post. Because using social media lets the readership and the followers know where are you and what you're up to. So in Oklahoma, I love the museums and I love the murals that are around. Mm-hmm. Tulsa, Elk City, Clinton, Weatherford, they're all there. Tulsa has a great new neon drive down 11th Street. In Texas and Arizona, I love the food and the sunsets. I have not yet posted a blog, but I do have a food blog that's about to come out.
Oh my gosh.
Related to my travels. So in Kansas and Missouri, I'm fascinated with the bridges and all the in-house businesses that have long-term family ownership. Some of these families have owned their businesses 100 years. They are still, they're struggling on the Route 66, but they're not giving up because they know in 3 more years, there's going to be a big surge of travelers coming to Route 66. It's a centennial. And they're really making, even this national government is allowing applications for grants to beef up, enhance businesses. And then in Illinois, I just love all the whimsical stories that are woven into modern businesses and the old businesses, lots of muffler men tell the stories along Route 66. And they're in just about every major city. A muffler man was an advertising feature for filling stations. They got attention, they got the travelers' attention. And they're still getting attention because now they're revamped and repurposed. So
yeah, that's so neat. So, okay, let me ask, because I don't want to miss this important point. Route 66 is iconic. So what was it about Route 66 to where you wanted to write your story around Route 66?
Well, as a classroom teacher in the 90s, the Tulsa Junior League had come out with a curriculum for all third graders in the city, Tulsa history A to Z. So I began learning about the famous people, one of them being Cyrus Avery, father of Route 66, who basically wove together all of the national highways from Chicago to Santa Monica and created the route. But I wanted children to know about that route and that it served a purpose in our country's history. It was for people out of work going westward. It was for the military coming back from World War I, moving their equipment across the country. The tanks and trucks were moving westward to deliver things. Farmers now had a better way to share their produce. And basically, I just wanted children to know what it was. I spent a lot of time on the Tulsa to Veneta Route 66 because of my family's lake home. And I just remember beautiful sunsets and picnics and things like that. All my life from the age I was 3 to 18.
Okay, so fond memories. You got your kicks.
Yeah, got my kicks.
On Route 66 when you were growing up even.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, so we've talked about a lot, and it's interesting because stuff that we didn't talk about in the podcast that you mentioned, you're so entrepreneurial with different things that you're doing and working on, and now you're even mentioning something new. So what's next for you?
Well, this week my book, the Route 66 book, is 1 year old. I do have a new contract with the state of Oklahoma to sell my books in all the visitor centers in the state.
That's amazing.
So that's my segue to reaching America. And I have had some discussions with people that want this book in different languages because the foreign market is huge on Route 66.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Asian markets, German markets. My niece is studying in Spain, and her room is decorated with Route 66.
Wow.
Art. I mean, she goes, Antoinette, look, my room has Route 66 murals.
Do people kind of know in your family and otherwise that you're the Route 66 queen?
Yes. They're just like, oh, Annette.
Do you have stuff in your house, or did you do do you have a travel tree with Route 66 ornaments, or what do you do in your house at home to kind of commemorate your
Well, I do have
travels?
little vignettes where people have given me ornaments or trinkets, and I put them on a little table it's a white Christmas tree, but it has, little things hanging on it. And my books that I sell, I order they're in my home. I have an inventory closet that has currently over 400 books ready to go for spring. So I have little stages in the home.
Okay.
But there's enough going on in my world that I don't really put up bulletin boards or anything.
Okay. You don't need to do that.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So my theme for 2023 is about living purposefully. And so I wanted you to kind of speak to how you are living purposefully in your life, or how you have found purpose in your life.
Okay. Well, I have to share that my mom, Jeannie, and my mother-in-law, Jane, were two women in my life that really influenced me in terms of people and making connections. They both were excellent communicators. They were fabulous mothers and parents. They were friends and had wonderful friends in their community. They gave back. So, and like Jane used to say, people are plasma that gives you the kind of like putting gas in your tank and making you want to have more, take more rides, meet more people, have more fun. So using that example, I live by that almost daily. I love to meet people, like I'm a concierge or I'm a Bible study leader, and I'm really working on connections. That's one of my words for the year. When I usually set up a word of the year to meditate on. But I do use podcast, visualization, prayer, and lots of conversation with friends. And I study people who are interesting and people that motivate me. So I love reading Mother Teresa's daily thoughts. I have a day-by-day calendar with her thoughts. But also when I read an article by Warren Buffett, it was about him in Inc. magazine. I love these 3 tips he suggests. Be selfless in your life. Give to others. Be curious. Don't let something that's going to be bringing you a lot of joy just go by the wayside. Like if you're going to take that road trip, stop and get out and see what it's all about. But also, he takes the golden rule one step further. He talks about the platinum rule. Love and treat others the way they want to be treated. And that is really the essence of what I want to live, is build empathy, build connections, and meet people.
Okay, I love that. Okay, with that, we will wrap up because it has just been a pleasure visiting with you. You have been a treat to visit with and share all great, insightful information. And so I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you for having me. I love your podcast, and many of those people that you've interviewed have touched my life.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yes.
Good. I appreciate that very much.
Good.
Thanks, Annette. Okay, everybody, that's a wrap on this week's episode. I want to thank you for listening to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. It means the world to me, and I'd love to connect with you. Please follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter at Passion Sharing. Also, if you like this podcast, it would mean a lot to me for you to subscribe, rate, and review it. And as always, all my show notes will be available on my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com.